Hi, my name is Becca. Welcome back to Raising Them Simply. Here we share all about our secular homeschool as a family of 5. Today we've got a hot take video for you guys. Are you ready? We're talking unschooling and why I feel like it is not appropriate for our preschool and early learners. Now I know I said this is a hot take. If you do unschooling and it works great for you, I love that for you. However, we are talking about our homeschool journey specifically and why it has not worked for us as a family. On social media, unschooling is kind of exploding, and I understand why. The appeal for child-led learning and all that stuff sounds great. If your kid doesn't want to learn or doesn't want to do formal learning and you want to learn out in nature or do things, that is great. However, I feel like there has been a bigger push or a bigger drive that unschooling is morphing into not really doing like a formal educating for our children until they feel like they want to. And that is something that I specifically want to talk about. Now, what I mean by this is that kids don't always want to learn what they need to learn. Kids don't always want to learn reading or math or something for science. And this is where I feel like we kind of get at this crossroads in our homeschooling community. Also, this does a huge disservice to our kids out there who have different special needs or learning challenges, because it delays kind of that intervention to be able to really help them and set them up for success. In our homeschool, we've talked quite extensively on this channel how my oldest child has dyslexia, and he's had some learning difficulties throughout the last couple years. Now, because we started learning to read at around 4.5 or 5 years old, we realized quickly that he did have dyslexia, and we were able to stop that curriculum, troubleshoot, find a new curriculum that worked for him, and set him up for success. And now at 6 years old, he's reading between a first and a second grade reading level. And this is something that has truly helped for our homeschool because we had that early intervention. Now, in my state, for example, in Minnesota, we do not have to register to homeschool until your child is 7 years old. But once they're 7 years old, you are required to teach all the different subjects in your school, meaning learning or reading, writing, math, spelling, language arts, literature, science, geography, history, all of the things. And that would have been extremely overwhelming and stressful for me and my son. First, as the educator, I would have had this constant pressure and stress that we are not kind of going through the motions and getting through the curriculum that we need to in order to meet our state requirements. And that would have led pressure onto my son, whether I was doing it intentionally or not intentionally, and it would have caused some stress and animosity in our homeschool because we are trying to meet all the requirements throughout the year. Because some of these days when it came to the early days of learning to read, we couldn't even do reading and math in the same day, even though my son excels and loves math, because the brain power it took to kind of get through that reading was too much for him to then concentrate on math. And because we picked this up and figured it out sooner, that stress did not pull into the rest of our schooling. I've heard a lot from other parents who have had difficulties in all different areas of their schooling, and their child has had a really hard time, and it's delayed a lot of other aspects of their schooling because they did this unschooling approach at the beginning of their child's homeschool education. Now, just because I think unschooling is not the appropriate approach does not mean that I think child-led learning is not important or a great asset in our schooling. By all means, you can do child-led learning, but you can do it in a way that helps facilitate learning at a younger age. For example, if your child is really interested in the human body or animals or space, you can use that to help encourage reading, for example, or you can use aspect of those things to help with early math problems. You can use that as a science unit. In our homeschool, my children, for the most part, get to pick out their science curriculum. I go up to them and ask them what they're interested in, and that is what we have used for our science for the upcoming year. Last year, my son wanted to do anatomy, so we did Me and My Amazing Body from Homeschool or Little School of Smiths. This year, we are doing Seashore Science from Homeschool Glue. Next year, we are doing nature studies. So we are picking things that my children are really interested in, and that helps keep them engaged in our school. Another thing is that we are slowly building the confidence in our children and also the capacity of what they're able to learn in our homeschooling by starting little things at a younger age. Now, Rachel from 7 and All talked about this on a recent video. I will link her channel down below because she is great. But she was talking about how when you do some learning expectations at a younger age, it's actually good for them. It sets up that expectation that learning is important, that they have special one-on-one time with you for a certain amount of time where they can learn some pretty cool things. It also helps increase their capacity. So maybe you're starting by doing a 5-minute lesson here or there, and then you slowly increase it to 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is, and that helps build their confidence and their self-esteem, and it helps set this expectation that learning is really, really important. Now, this does not mean that we are doing schooling for 8 hours a day, like the public school system. We do not do that. We are doing schooling for a half an hour to maybe 2 hours, depending on the day and what we need to accomplish that day. However, it gives them routine, it sets the expectations, and my children are really, truly thriving on this model. Now, several years ago, if you would have told me this was my approach, I would have been very surprised. I was very into the more the unschooling, child-led everything when my oldest was younger. But as he grew up and I kind of looked at the research and saw what was around me, and I took these cues for my child, I realized that that was not the right approach. And I'm noticing a lot more children having difficulties in different areas of their schooling because of this delayed unschooling approach. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It lets me know what kind of videos you like to see here on this channel. Leave a comment down below. Let me know how you approached schooling for your homeschool. Hit that subscribe button. It is a free way to be notified of future videos, and it helps support my channel, and I can't wait to catch you guys next time. Bye.